What is up and welcome to Rock Gamer, guys. It's Tuesday night, which means it's time to review this week's Rock Band 4 DLC, which is an 8-pack from U2. I just want to say I hate you, Harmonix. Why do you have to release so many good songs? You know, it takes so much time to review 8 songs when you have to play 3 different tracks on the same song. So let's get started with the first song. This is California, There Is No End to Love by U2 from their most recent album, or as is better known as that album you didn't want on your iTunes library. And let's start with the guitar track. I hated the guitar on this song. There was way too much alt strumming for my liking. There's like a couple breaks with the alt strumming where you're playing like some really easy chords and single notes. But that did not save the song. It's a dreadful song on guitar because I hate alt strumming songs. The drums are pretty standard. There's not really a whole lot going on. You play a couple standard rock beats. There are some fun little fills where you're doing like rolls on the snare and stuff, but it's mediocre overall. I sort of felt the same way about the bass. The bass has like a long intro where you basically stand around and play nothing at the beginning. And then it just sort of like chugs along. You play 10 notes on one color, switch to another color, play another 10 notes in a row, and that's basically it. So overall, it's probably not one of the stronger songs of the week. Let's go on to our next song of the week. Next song is Desire, and this one on guitar, it's got this main riff that's like a 3-finger chord mixed in with some 2-finger chords that the song is pretty much built around, and you play that throughout the entire song. But what they do is they take that main riff and they sort of change it up a bit, and that's what keeps the song feeling fresh and fun to me. That reason alone, I had a lot of fun with this song, especially considering I like to challenge myself a bit and like have these different kinds of chord progressions that are a little bit difficult. I'd say get the guitar. The drums, I'm going to come out and say it, guys, this is the first time I've ever said it. The drums seem like they've been charted completely wrong in this song. I don't know why there's so much snare, but if you listen to it, like I don't hear that much snare being played. It should be more tom hits and less snare hits. That reason alone ruined the song for me. Do not pick the song up on drums. The bass kind of, is similar to the guitar in that it's built around, one riff. The difference being on bass is that one riff, you play it over and over again. And, that leaves the bass fairly mediocre. It's not as good as the guitar. Let's go into our next song of the week. Next song of the week is another song off their latest album, The Miracle of Joey Ramone. This song I was really looking forward to. It's one of my favorite U2 songs from their new album. And have you ever gotten that feeling when you play like a song that you really have always wanted in Rock Band, and then you just realize it's way too hard to play on your favorite instrument? That's what I felt like with the drums, but we'll get to that in a bit. The guitar on this song was just kind of average. I just didn't really feel anything about the song. It was just really, nothing too special. It's got like a stuttering guitar kind of part where you're playing like a couple notes and you stop, play another couple notes, stop, and it's kind of repeated. There's really not much else going on in this song. The drums, there's like a theme with hi-hat beats this week with U2. This song is no different, and the hi-hat beat just really screwed me up in this song. Maybe I just hadn't paid that close of attention to the drums in this song, but it's a fun song. It's definitely one of the harder songs of the week. Pick it up if you want a challenge. The bass is meh. It's just got a mediocre ending and not a very good beginning. The in-between middle section is actually really fun because it kind of like changes things up, but then like it just does not finish strong, and I'd say the bass is mediocre. Let's go into our next song of the week. Our next song is One, and on guitar, it's got a pretty decent guitar riff. It's very heavy on the hammer-ons and pull-offs, and that kind of riff is sort of like repeated throughout the song. Other than that, there's really not a whole lot going on. If you can get that riff down pat, it's a pretty easy song. I'd say the guitar was mediocre. The drums were absolutely dreadful. One of the worst songs of the week. So repetitive. Like the beat you see right now is literally what you almost play throughout the entire song. The intro is a bit different. It's just like basically a series of hi-hat notes. The bass is really bad. It's got like a very long waiting intro where you wait for like a minute before you start playing. And then it just sort of like chugs along across the fretboard, and it's super easy. A very easy song to full combo as a full band if you're playing with like 4 people or so. Let's go into our next song of the week. Next song of the week is Pride in the Name of Love, and this one on guitar has like a really fun, fast main riff that's very chord heavy, and I was a little worried when I first played the song that it would be super repetitive, but it's actually not, because they take that riff and it's repeated a couple times throughout the song, but then they vary it up. They throw like some single notes with some sustains, and there's this really fun part that's only played once, unfortunately, where you're playing like just hammer-ons and pull-offs across the fretboard, and it's giving your fingers a good workout. Really fun, not too overly difficult. The drums are another great instrument on this song. It takes a standard rock beat, but then it throws in like a floor tom hit and an open hi-hat. And then there's times where you're playing rolls on the hi-hat as well. And the bass was the weakest instrument. It kind of just chugs along. You play like three really quick notes on like one color, then followed by some single notes, go on to the next color, and it's sort of repeated throughout. I would say the bass you can probably skip for this week. Our next song of the week is Sunday Bloody Sunday, and the guitar, even though it's not as difficult as the bass, I actually found it more fun because it's much more varied. Now, both the guitar and the bass are similar in that the riff is like, you play the same riff, but it's sort of like played across three different parts of the guitar, so you're using three different variations of buttons. But I found that it was more varied on the guitar. That's pretty much it. I found there's like one mediocre guitar solo, and other than that, I would say the guitar is mediocre. The drums are very similar in the sense to the Joey Ramone song, in the sense that's a lot of like a disco beat with like hits on the snare. If you're into those kinds of songs, I would recommend it. I did find that the drums were really challenging because when you're trying to hit the snare like 3 times, that was definitely the hardest part of the song. The bass, as I said before, is similar to the guitar, but it's just more repetitive, and I would say it's pretty mediocre at best. Our next song of the week is Vertigo, and Vertigo on guitar is probably one of my favorite songs of the week, largely because I'm not a great guitar player, as I've said before, an expert, but it was actually really fun and easy, and the chord progressions are really fun as well. If you're not into harder songs, but you like playing on expert, this is definitely a great song to pick up. I found that the drums were, I was kind of on the fence. Like on one hand, they're not anything special, but I still had like fun playing it. Like it's a pretty standard rock beat you're gonna play. You'll play a lot on the blue cymbal and then the snare, as well as on the hi-hat as well. There are some fun little fills and some fun open hi-hat moments thrown in as well. I'd probably say I could be on the fence. I'd probably say buy if you're looking for like a fun but maybe not overly challenging drum song. Bass was a little too repetitive for my liking. I would say the bass you could probably avoid for this week. Let's go into our final song of the week. We're almost done, guys. Come on. Our final song of the week is Where the Streets Have No Name, and this is probably one of my favorite U2 songs. If you guys haven't seen it already, go check out their performance at the 2002 Super Bowl. It was like the first Super Bowl after 9/11. Really great performance there. And getting to the guitar, I found that the guitar was just a huge chord fest. Nothing really great. Too much alt strumming for my liking. I'd say it's very skippable on guitar. I'd say the drums are interesting because I own the custom of this song. So basically, the drums are played very heavily on the rack tom, and then you get towards the end of the song, and you're playing like a lot on the snare, and you're throwing in more kick drum as well. Even though some may complain it's repetitive, I had a blast playing the song because usually I have trouble playing like so many kick drums and snare rolls, but I was able to keep up with it surprisingly. I had a ton of fun on it. The bass, I would say, is really boring. You're waiting and standing around for a lot of it. There's really no variety, and I would say the drums are the only instrument you should be picking this up for, and maybe vocals if you enjoy singing. So we did it, guys. That does it for this week's Rock Band 4 DLC review. Thanks for joining me. Stay tuned for next week's episode, and to stay up to date on all things rhythm gaming related, be sure to click the subscribe button on my channel. Take care.